guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video we're going to be doing a part 2 to the factorization video. So in the previous video we were just taking a look at these questions here and just going through how to factorize algebraic expressions. This is pretty much a follow-up to it and finishing off the rest of the questions I prepared for the video. So this one, factorize brackets x squared minus y all squared minus 16y squared. So at the moment we can't factorize anything because, well, for starters, there's nothing they really have in common. There's no common factor really available at this current moment. Once we take care of this, then we could perhaps factorize something. So what this statement is saying is, alright, if I have x minus y all squared, what that's saying is this times itself twice. So x minus y times by x minus y 2 times, if that makes sense. So because of this 2 up here, so you can think of it like a squared is the same as a times a, 2 times. Makes sense. So what we're going to do is expand this first and then pretty much see what we can do. So x minus y times by x minus y minus 16y squared. What we're going to do is FOIL this, so we're going to multiply this by this, that, and that. So first term is going to be x squared minus xy, xy minus xy plus y squared minus 16y squared. These are like terms, so you can add those together and you'll get minus 15y squared. These are also like terms, so you get minus 2xy, and then we finally have x squared. So what we have is this following expression, which arguably looks a bit worse than what we started with, but we're going to break it down and factorize it. So it's a squared term here, so what that means is there's pretty much going to be 2 sets of brackets here. They're going to be multiplied to give this expression here. I already know what the first term here and this term are going to be. Because this x squared is linear, it tells me this term and this term are just x's. Because when you FOIL it, you need to get an x squared out, pretty much. Now, to work out the rest, you need to look at the other terms. So, we have a y and we have a y squared here. So I know there's going to be a y here and a y here because you've got to get a y squared, but they won't be coefficients of 1 because this is a negative 15 and there's also a negative 2 here. Now we've got to think, alright, what 2 numbers, so just for now just ignore the variable and just look at the numbers. What 2 numbers multiply to give minus 15 and add together to give negative 2? So what I'm thinking of, alright, the factors are 15. You got 1 and 15. If you add those together or minus those, you're not going to get negative 2. But 3 and 5, potentially. Because if you think about it, if we have minus 5 plus 3, that's going to give us minus 2. So what if we just try, alright, minus 5 and positive 3. So now we'll get rid of this little squiggle stuff here and see what we have. Oh, that's a y. And get rid of this. And let's see if this works. So what I've actually done is technically guess my answer just by looking at my variables here a bit closely. So if I were to multiply this out, I'd get, alright, x squared. Then I'd get, alright, positive 3xy. Here I would get negative 5xy. And then here I'd get minus 15y squared. Simplifying the middle term, I get x squared minus 2xy minus 15y squared. So I've successfully factorized this term into 2 brackets. And from that, there's nothing more we can do. That is it fully factorized. Now that one's a bit harder than the previous examples, but that's something you could get algebraically. And when you get given something like this here to factorize, you've just got to take it slowly. Now mind you, the only reason this made it really easy is because this was a coefficient of 1. If it was a coefficient of something else, then you'd probably have to take a bit more time with it or see if you could factor out anything common out of any of them. Righto, so let's move on to the next question now. So, factorize this. Alright, so this is what we call a standard quadratic. So when you're taking a look at something like this, there's 2 things you need to do. You need to look at the numbers that aren't x squared. Specifically, you need to be looking at the minus 8 and the minus 2. So because it's got a coefficient of 1, we know it's going to take on this form, where it's going to be x, and x. Okay? But we don't know what the rest is going to be. Now, there's no other terms here, there's no y squares or anything, so we know these placeholders will be numbers, but we don't know what numbers they are. So when you get given something like this, you need to think, alright, what two numbers multiply to give minus 8 and add to give minus 2? So what I think of is, alright, what are the factors of 8? Well, you've got 1 and 8, you've got 2 and 4, and what else? That's about it, I think. Yeah, so if I add or subtract these numbers together, I'm not going to get minus 2, but this one I could potentially. So if I had minus 4 and 2, if I multiply those give me minus 8, and if I add those, it gives me minus 2. So those are the correct numbers. So we can double check that as well. So x minus 4 times by x plus 2. If we were to multiply this out, we'll see what we get. So first term, x times x is x squared. X times 2 x times 2 is going to be positive 2x. Minus 4 times x is going to be minus 4x. Minus 4 times by 2 is minus 8. You can simplify these into minus 2, so you get x squared minus 2x minus 8, which is the expression above. So we've successfully factorized that. Okay, let's move on to the next example now. Alright, so factorize this. Now, this one's a bit different because you've got a coefficient of 6 out the front. So what we're going to do is basically this thing called the box method. So the box method is something you can use when factorizing quadratic equations like this. So what you do is you write out your equation, minus 13x minus 15. Then you're going to switch these terms around. So you're going to have, alright, 6x squared minus 15 and minus 13x. Then you're going to break this into its factors. So when we think about it like this, 6x squared can be written as one of two things. 6x times x or 3x times 2x. Okay? Minus 15 is going to be written as, alright, it could be minus 5, 3, or positive 5 minus 3, or 1 and 15, or it can be minus 1 and minus 15 and 1. So those are the factors that are in the back of my mind when looking at this problem here. But I'm just going to put them in the corner pretty much. And what we're going to do is pretty much pick a pair that works really. So what I mean by that is, alright, at the start, let's just start pretty much guessing it. So we'll start with one set of factors. So let's just start up with these ones here. So 3x squared, so 3x. So if you multiply these guys together, you get the expression above. Okay? And let's choose another one. So let's go this one here. So we'll go 5 and minus 3. So what we're going to do is actually cross multiply and see what we get. So this would give you 10x. This would give you minus 9x. Now if you add those together, it doesn't give you 13x. Okay? So we know this combination isn't going to work. Okay? Now let's see if the reverse combination would work. So let's switch the sign. So this would give me minus 10x, and this would be 9x. That one doesn't work either. So we know it's not going to be either this set or this set. Now you can choose which one you want to go with, whether it's switch this one or this one. I'm going to switch this set here. So we'll have 6x times x. So if I multiply this together, I get that expression. If I cross multiply, let's see what we get. Because I don't know what the answer is. I'm doing it cold, same as you guys. Because that's more realistic. So x times by minus 5 will be minus 5x. 6 times by 3 is 18x. Okay, we're actually getting somewhere. If I add those two together, I get positive 13x, which isn't what I want. So why not flip the signs here now? So go minus and then positive. And let's see what we get there. So it's going to be 5x minus 18x. If I add those two together, I get minus 13x. Okay? So, well, you're probably thinking, alright, what do we do with this now? Those are your brackets right there. So this can be written as 6x plus 5 multiplied by x minus 3. And yeah, that's about it with that one. Now, most of the time, it would take a bit to get used to it, but this is a very good method to use if you can't divide anything that's common here. Now let's check if this works. Multiply by that. It's going to give me 6x squared. 6x times my minus 3 is going to be minus 18x. 5x and then minus 15, and gives me minus 13x in the middle. So we've got the expression above, so it works. And that's how you'd factorize that using the box method. Okay? Right, so example 15, we're going to be doing a similar thing. So at the start, I think, alright, can I factor out anything straight away? No, I can't, because you got 8 at the front and a 2 here and a minus 15. So what we're going to use is the box method again. Box method. So I've got 8x squared plus 2x minus 15. I'm going to rewrite it like this. X squared minus 15 positive 2x. So now I think, alright, what are my factors pretty much of these guys here? What combinations can we get to get minus 2x? Okay. So 8x squared can be written as 8x times x. And this one can be written as, alright, 5 and 3 again. Let's go with that. It's 5 and minus 3. So if I cross multiply, I'm going to get a minus 24 here and a 5 here. So I know that's probably not going to work. So I'm going to go with, so instead of 5 and 3, I'm probably going to go with 1 and 15. So I'll put the 1 down here and the 15 up here. Okay? Alright, let's see if this works. If I cross multiply, now one has to be negative. Let's go with that being negative. 15x minus 8x. And that doesn't give me positive 2x, I don't believe. No, that gives me 7x. So we know that combination doesn't work. Now 8x squared is also the same as 4x times by 2x. So let's try that combo now. So 4x and 2x. Now I'm probably not going to use 15 and 1 again, because 2 times 15 is going to give you 30. So what I'm going to do is choose smaller numbers now. So because I've made these guys quite bigger, so I don't have a 1 now. So I'm going to go 5 and 3 again. So that gives me 10x. Now one of them has to be negative, but I'll decide that in a sec. 4 times by 3 is 12x. Okay, if I add them together, I get 22. If I minus them, I get 2, which is what I want. So I want this to be negative. So in order for that to be negative, that needs to be negative. So if I add those together, that gives me 2x. So these are my brackets here. So 8x squared plus 2x minus 15 is the same as 4x minus 15 times by 2x plus 3. And you can double check that by multiplying out. So you're going to get 8x squared plus 12x minus, oh, I forgot this one, minus 15. That's not minus 15, sorry. 4x times by 3 is going to be 12x. And this is going to be minus 10x. And then minus 15, for minus 15. So that gives you 8x squared plus 2x minus 15. And that's done, pretty much. That's that fully factorized. Right, let's go on to the next example. Righto, so this one, we don't really need to use the box method because every single term is divisible by 2 straight away. So what I'm going to do is just write it out and go, alright, x squared plus 6x minus 20, factor out 2. So I'm going to have x squared, half of that is 3, half of that is 10. Now I'm going to look at this quadratic and think, alright, what two numbers multiply to give minus 10 and add together to give 3? So straight off the back, I'm thinking 5 and minus 2. If I multiply those, it gives me that. If I add those, it gives me that. So those will be the factors. And that's about it. If you were to multiply that out, it would give you the expression above. Okay? Right, so we'll do this last example, and then we'll probably do a part 3 because there's tons of other questions to go through pretty much here, which I do actually want to go through. Alright, so here, this one is a bit different. What we're going to do is make a substitution because that is the same as that. So why don't I go, alright, let's go like a equal x plus 1. So that means this turns into a squared minus 2a minus 3. So now we have a quadratic equation. So what two numbers multiply to give minus 3 and add to give minus 2? Well, I can think of minus 3 and 1 straight away. So we have a minus 3, and then we're going to have a plus 1. Now we're not done because we made that substitution. So what we're going to do now is sub this guy back into here. So what we're going to have is x plus 1 minus 3, and then x plus 1 gives me, alright, x minus 2, and then x plus 2. And that's it. So you're probably thinking, alright, how do I check if that's correct? Well, we can if we do it a bit of a long way. So that's the quick way you can factorize it. Now I'm going to double check it's correct because I'm going to expand pretty much my original expression and see what I get. So this guy, I'll write over here, will be x plus 1, and that's squared, so it's the same as x plus 1. Squared, oh, not squared. Plus 1 minus 2 of x plus 1 minus 3. If I multiply this out, this is what I'm going to get. X squared plus 2x plus 1. So I did that one a bit quickly because I want to be showing you that this is correct. And what we have here is technically a difference of squares, if you can see, but we don't need to do that because it's factorizing. This is going to be minus 2x, minus 2, minus 3. So that cancels with that. And then what we're going to have here is x squared minus 4. So this is difference of squares, and I can factorize that like this. Ta-da! So there's two ways you can factorize it, using a substitution or this way here. Either way can work. And that's it for this part. So in part 3 I'll go over these questions here and factorize every single one of them. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.